As we inch closer to the end of the season, which we hope doesn't end until after we win our 17th flag, the trade news, the contract news starts getting louder. I have a massive update for everyone. Let's talk about it. So we know at the moment we have a bunch of players still unsigned for 2026. Two of the biggest names on there are Brody Myercheck and Jamie Elliott. Now, Jamie Elliott, I talked about in a video before. 2 years at the moment. Gold Coast and Brisbane are reportedly very keen on him, but there hasn't been any movement from there. But on the Brody Myercheck front, this is what Sam Edmonds said on SEN today.
Brody Myercheck's future still uncertain at Collingwood. Now, contrary to what's been widely reported, and I'm including myself in this, the Pies have actually presented him a 2-year deal. Not one, but two. But two at the age of 32. He'll be 33 before next season. So the deal's for 2 years. The tenure, as I understand it, isn't the issue, but the money is. Regardless, he still hasn't signed, and we're well into September. Now, he will wait until Collingwood season is over now before really drilling into what he wants to do. There is interest from elsewhere. The Jungle Drums have North Melbourne offering a 3-year contract to him. That's a compelling offer.
So we thought for a while that Brody Myercheck had 1 year in front of him from the Pies, and he was sort of upset about that or whatever it sort of may have been. It's sounding like the Pies have actually 2 years in front of him. And what he's unhappy about is the monetary value of those 2 years. Sounds like with North's 3-year offer, obviously that's going to come with more money because it's an extra year. We don't know numbers or anything like that. Brody Myercheck, like Sam said, is 32, will be 33 before the season starts. So this takes him to about 34, 35, our 2-year contract, and, North's 3 years. The thing with this is Brody Myercheck has been an absolute workhorse for so long for the Pies, right? And you wouldn't begrudge him, going somewhere else for 3 years and getting a little bit of extra money as he looks, his body's not banged up, but he's getting older and stuff like that. That's fair enough. We have a couple of kids waiting in the wings, Charlie West, Noah Howes, a couple of other guys that we'll talk about later on in this video. Is moving Brody Myercheck on, and to a lesser extent, Jamie Elliott, even though, I want Jamie Elliott to stay. Let's talk about Brody Myercheck for a sec. Would moving Brody Myercheck on be the worst thing for this football club, or is it a step in the right direction with these young kids starting to get through? How does Charlie West or Noah Howes or, Jack Buller that we were looking at from Sydney, and I'll talk about it a little bit later, how do they get games if Membry, Myercheck, Cox and McStay are still on the list and they're still staying and they're still working in the forward line? Like Craig Kelly said, we're going to have to see some of these free agents go. They're unrestricted free agents. We won't be able to match their offers unless they want to stay with us. So if Kangaroos are offering Brody Myercheck, for example, 500,000 for 3 years, that's 1.5 million, where he's only probably getting 400,000 for 2 years at the Pies. You wouldn't begrudge him for going. Means that we don't get a really good pick for him, but if we can win a 17 flag, does that take the edge off a little bit, and we won't begrudge these players if they do want to leave? Let me know your thoughts down below on Myercheck leaving or staying. Now, Sam Edmund also said this about a trade target, Jack Buller.
Collingwood, at the same time, when it comes to this part of the ground, they've got an interest in a fringe Sydney key forward, Jared. Jack Buller, or as Jared Healy calls him, Mount. He's the 2023 mid-season pickup at Sydney. Key forward out of contract. Back injury wiped out all of last year. He's 199-centimetre target. He played the last 9 games this year. He kicked 11 goals. He kicked 3 against West Coast in that final round. 8 marks, 14 disposals. Collingwood like him. And at this stage, he's some chance to land there at Collingwood. Whether that's going to be dictated to whether Brody Myercheck stays or leaves, it might be immune from all of that. But I can tell you that Collingwood have an interest in Jack Buller up at the Swans.
So Jack Buller is a 199-centimetre key forward. Played in the Waffle for Claremont, was overlooked in the national draft. The Sydney picked him up in 2023 as a mid-season draft pick for pick 13. He debuted in 2023. in 2024, he was out all year with a back issue, but he came back in 2025, so this year, and actually had a pretty decent end of the season. He played 9 games, kicked 11 goals, averaged 9 disposals, and nearly 4 marks per game. In round 24, which was the last game of Sydney's season, Buller had a career best, albeit he's only played 10 games, 14 disposals, 8 marks, and he kicked 3 goals. Now, he's out of contract at the end of this year. Could be a basement bargain buy. And we've got we've got a knack for getting these basement bargain buys, these money ball sort of players, especially from Sydney. Look at Darcy Cameron. He came here for a bag of salt and vinegar chips, and now he could be a 2-time premiership ruckman who's going to stay with the Pies until he finishes his career. Now, admittedly, I don't know much about Jack Buller besides what I've been reading and what I've been seeing today after doing research for this video. At 199 centimeters, he will be taller than all of our key forwards. Taller than Charlie West, taller than Noah House, clearly taller than Membry, Mychek, and McStay. No one's going to be taller than Mason Cox, though. But here's what I came up with his strengths and areas to improve. So, strengths: contested marking. He's got a really good set of hands. He's a big size, 199 centimeter target up forward. Reliable goal kicking. He can pinch hit in the ruck if you really need him to. I don't think we would sort of do that. Maybe a little bit if we're not playing two ruckmen like we did with Cameron and Cox. You could maybe see a little bit of that. And he's still a young guy, 24 years old, lowers our age of our list. Now, areas to improve: obviously still inexperienced, has only played 10 games at the Swans. Darcy Cameron came to us playing only 1 game at the Swans. So, part and parcel. He just tends to go missing a little bit. You can see that from his lower disposals, and he just really needs to work on his pressure and his follow up and his second and third contests. But that will all come with system if he does get to the Pies. So how does Buller fit into our system? Now, he's probably, look, you probably do use him maybe as a little bit of a ruck option, but you couldn't have Buller, Cameron, Mychek, Membry, McStay all in the same team, let's say, to start 2026. Some of those guys has to give way. We know that McStay is out of favor at the moment. Mychek, if he leaves or if he stays. But then what does that mean for the development of Charlie West, of Noah House? And you got to think as well, we're getting Zach McCarthy as an NGA, who is probably about the same, 199 centimeters, very raw, very talented, as a sort of centre half forward, bit of a ruckman as well. But we know that key forwards take a while, so he will be a project player. So you got to think, do we really need another key forward, even though we've got West and House waiting in the wings? And in saying all of that, Ben King is a free agent at the end of 2026. Is he someone that we absolutely go hard after? I know 17 other clubs are going to want him, but is he someone that we sort of really go hard after, given that McStay and Membry are getting to the twilights of their career? Now, flipping over to Gettable, here's what Cal Toomey and Riley Beveridge said about some other guys that we might be interested in.
Another name I'm keeping an eye on is Anthony Caminiti. So he's contracted to the end of next year at the Saints, but clearly the Saints are bringing in 2 key defenders. Collingwood has had a look at Caminiti as they look at that area of the ground. So the Pies obviously missed out on Jack Silvani. Again, we talk about the carousel. What does that mean? Contracted at the Saints for another year. I don't think they'd be looking to let him go, but that's one that Collingwood has had a look at amongst other options.
I think Tyler Young might be another one in the Pies sights as a potential bargain basement buy.
So missing out on Jack Silvani really puts us at a little bit of a disadvantage with our backmen. Now, we know we have Reef McGuinness coming back into the team after that ACL injury. Again, he's only done 1 preseason as a defender. He did look good in patches, though. Only played a couple of games as a defender as well. So we'll wait to see what he looks like in another preseason under his belt, he definitely looks a little bit bigger because he's only been able to do sort of upper body workouts coming back from that ACL injury. But let's look at Tyler Young. So 27 years old, 196 centimeter defender from Richmond. Could be another bargain basement buy. Out of contract as well. He is coming off an ACL injury though. And in 2023, he had one of the lowest one-on-one lost rates in the competition for defenders, which is absolutely incredible. If you're looking for key position defender depth, and Charlie Dean is uncontracted at the end of 2025 as well, so who knows if he gets another contract. If we can get Tyler Young, or I think his name's Jacob Blight from Richmond as well, he would be a delisted free agent. If we can get these guys for cheap, just to cover and maybe sort of develop, Howe's not getting any younger, Billy Frampton's not getting any younger. We need some guys, and that's one area of our game, a big key defender that we know that we don't have any depth behind. Now, the last guy who I thought was a really, really interesting name, and one that kind of makes sense, is Anthony Caminiti from St Kilda. Now, he's contracted until 2026. He did start as a forward. We saw this year he went down back as a defender and did admittedly pretty well from the games that I watched. So he can be a little bit of a swingman. Now, with St Kilda, Wilkie's going to still be there. The reports he's going to turn down Western Bulldogs as, $1 million offer. But then Silvani's coming in. Leak Alia is coming in as well. Where does that leave Caminiti? Are they going to swing him forward, or does he look for an exit from St Kilda in a team where he can play as a defender all the way through and is not sort of giving up that position? I think he'd be absolutely handy in our defense. A young kid as well, 21, 22 when the season comes around as well. There's obviously a lot of teams looking for defenders. The Bulldogs probably will have a look at him, but I thought it was interesting that Cal mentioned his name. So he'll be one to watch. If there's any more developments, I will obviously talk about that. But the biggest development here is Mychek's offer and Jack the Mountain Buller. Let me know your thoughts down below. Have you heard anything about Buller or Young or Caminiti? Are these players that you want at the football club? Let me know your thoughts about Brody Mychek as well. But until then, like, comment, subscribe, tell your family, tell your friends, tell your pets. And until next time, double shackers. I'll swoop you later.